our state. That's because the Packers acquired All-Pro Micah Parsons from the Packers for Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks. Green Bay then took care of Parsons' contract issues with a 4-year, $188 million deal that has $136 million guaranteed, making the highest-paid non-QB in league history.
We have all sides of this story covered. There you can see Packers reporter Rob Demovsky is live in Green Bay. Cowboys reporter Todd Archer is with us from Dallas. And then Mina Kimes is here to help us understand what just happened and react to it all. Let's start with Rob, though, in Green Bay. And look, here we are, 9 days away from the Packers home opener against the Lions. And Rob, how exactly did all of this with Micah Parsons come together for the Packers?
Shay, let's start with this. Multiple sources told me that Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst thought this was a long shot at the very beginning, but he took the shot anyway. He went into Packers coach Matt LaFleur's office and said, "Would you want Micah Parsons?" And Matt LaFleur looked at him and said, "Well, of course I would." And they went to work on it. This was very complicated because it wasn't just a trade, but it was also a massive contract. But they kept working at it, and eventually they began to get the feeling that Jerry Jones might indeed part with them. The contract part of it might have been the last part done, but there's some history there with the agent, David Mulligetta. He also represents Jordan Love. Remember, they just did his contract last summer, and also All-Pro safety Xavier McKinney, also represented by David Mulligetta. So there was some history there, and it allowed them to get this deal done at the end of it.
Okay. Well, many of us are not used to Green Bay making this kind of an impact this late in the offseason, a massive move, breaking the bank. What more can you share about this aggressive approach by Green Bay?
Well, remember the draft, which was here in Green Bay? The Packers drafted Matthew Golden, receiver, in the first round. And they hadn't drafted a receiver in the first round since 2002. It was a massive storyline for years. Are they ever going to draft a first-round receiver? Brian Gutekunst finally pulled the trigger this year. It was met with a massive ovation. If they set up that draft stage today and Micah Parsons walked on it, I'm sure it would be just the same response. But it goes back even a little bit further than that. On January 16th, 4 days after they lost to the Eagles in the playoff game, Brian Gutekunst told us it's time we start competing for championships around here. So maybe that should have been our first clue that this offseason was going to be a little bit different.
My goodness. Well, he'll be tested early. Lions week 1 going to Lambeau, and then in a short week you have the Commanders coming to Lambeau. Should be interesting to see what Micah Parsons can do there. You can read Rob's piece on ESPN.com detailing the Packers' aggressive front office approach. It's there right now. Rob Demovsky, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's continue the conversation with our Cowboys reporter, Todd Archer. And Todd, what are the football reasons for Jerry Jones and Dallas making this move with Micah Parsons?
Yeah, Jerry, the first answer that Jerry Jones gave in the press conference was about the run defense, and this makes the Cowboys a better team for the playoffs. Now, never mind the fact it might be more difficult to get to the playoffs without Micah Parsons, but there's some validity in what he said. In the Cowboys' last 3 playoff losses, to the Packers and twice to San Francisco, they allowed 403 yards rushing on the ground and 6 rushing touchdowns. So you can see where the Cowboys wanted to get better at stopping the run, and that's what they believe Kenny Clark can do with the guys that they have in the roster. And just for Kenny Clark, he left Green Bay at 7 a.m. this morning, arrived here at the Star around 9:45. He's on the practice field right now, and we should be able to talk to him after practice from inside the Ford Center.
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people will have a lot to say about whether or not Micah Parsons removing him from that Cowboys team was the answer to that problem right there. However, how does this move exactly affect Dak Prescott and the offense?
Oh, there's always pressure on Dak Prescott, right? There's more pressure on him now, and as well as first-year head coach Brian Schottenheimer. They're going to have to score a lot of points. They believe they have the ability to have an explosive offense with CeeDee Lamb, with George Pickens, who they acquired from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason. They like their running game with Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and the rookie Jaden Blue. They believe the offensive line will come along, but they must score points. They must get leads on teams, because that's their recipe for success when you don't have a guy like Micah Parsons around to affect the other team's quarterback.
Yeah, plenty of pressure on this Cowboys squad going into this season. You can read more of Todd's reporting on the Parsons trade now at ESPN.com. Todd, thanks so much.
And now we bring in NFL analyst Mina Kimes to help me make sense of some of the things that maybe Jerry Jones said yesterday that I need a little bit of dissecting on. And so, Mina, I look to you to answer this question. Do you buy Jerry Jones selling that trading Parsons is actually better for the Cowboys in the playoffs?
I do not.
Yeah.
Following his logic, if this is really about improving the run defense, candidly, Kenny Clark, who I think is still a really good player, is not the player I would have targeted. I don't think he's a plus run defender at this point in his career. If you put him in at nose in Dallas, I don't think he moves the needle that much. I also think if they really wanted to improve their run defense, really should have tried to do this trade earlier and gotten that first round pick from the likes of the Packers, and they could have spent it on a player like, I don't know, Tyleik Williams, who went to Detroit, for example, who's a run-stuffing defensive tackle. But perhaps more importantly not, they just traded one of the 3 best pass rushers in the entire NFL. Some would say the best. Over the last 3 years, Micah Parsons, first in pressure rate, first in pass rush wins, second most double-team player behind Myles Garrett. You don't trade players like that and get better. In fact, when he has not been on the field, our colleague Bill Barnwell has pointed this out, the Cowboys have been the worst defense statistically in football. So nothing about this makes sense for the short term. You could make a case for the long term, but in my mind, that's entirely speculative, especially because I think those Packers draft picks aren't going to be particularly valuable, given how good I think Green Bay is going to be.
Mina, when you have players coming out of the draft, we say things like, hopefully they become the next Micah Parsons. That's the kind of language that we use around here, right? And so now let's flip this over to the Packers side of things. Is Parsons the missing piece for Jordan Love and the Packers to take the next step?
I think so. This Packers team was already really good. They were the only team in the NFL to finish top 5 in offensive yards per play and defensive yards per play. And that defense, I thought, really took a step last year under their new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. They were top 5 in a number of metrics, but one area where they still struggled was getting pressure, 26th in pass rush win. Micah Parsons, as I mentioned earlier, leads all edge rushers in pass rush win. So they addressed what I think was the biggest issue on their roster, which was the absence of a superstar edge rusher. But not only did they address it, they went out and got, again, one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. So I love them adding a closer on that side of the ball. Very excited about Matthew Golden, who Rob talked about in the first round. I think this Packers team is going to be incredibly formidable.
Micah on one side and Rashawn Gary on the other. Oh my goodness, the NFC North doesn't know what's coming. Mina, we're going to talk to you a little bit, a lot more on this trade, obviously, throughout the next
Topic this morning on Get Up and First Take.
From the time that Jerry Jones felt he had a handshake agreement in March till yesterday, there were exactly zero discussions of a new contract. The topic never was broached. Jerry Jones felt like he had an agreement for $40.5 million a year with the pass rushing market exploding.
This will go down as one of the worst trades in the history of their football team and their organization. They traded away a future Hall of Famer for what likely will be the 28th to the 32nd pick in the first round.
You don't deal away a 26-year-old superstar player on the cusp of the season. If you're going to make this move, and you guys have already said, you make this move in March when you can literally open up the floodgates to all their teams. If someone wants to, give you a king's ransom, that's the time to do it.
This is a disaster for Jerry Jones. This is a bad situation. And I think this is something that's going to taint whatever legacy he hoped to have, because this is not a football decision. He can slice it any way he wants to. I think that of all the cynicism that has been thrown in the direction of the Dallas Cowboys, never has it had more meat. Never has it felt more palpable than it does this morning, because it makes no sense.
We're coming off Dak Prescott situation. We're coming off CeeDee Lamb situation. And then right in the preseason, here you did a Trayvon Diggs situation. I guarantee you the locker room is rattled right now, and it's definitely going to affect them next Thursday night. I didn't sleep 1 ounce last night, not 1 ounce. I got to figure this thing out, man. I'm just hurt.
Lots of people losing sleep over this one. Our sports betting analyst Pamela Maldonado joins us right now to break down this trade's massive implications. And Pam, what does shipping off Micah Parsons off to the conference foe mean for the Cowboys' futures this season?
Losing Micah Parsons is devastatingly impactful because no player entering the NFL, no one has pressured quarterbacks more off the edge than Parsons, 335 times. That leads the NFL, and he did all of that, missing only 5 games in 4 years. So what that means is you take the under on 7.5 wins for the Cowboys at -130 because you believe in a Dallas collapse. They have a late season gauntlet of a schedule from week 12 on. They didn't fix the running back position. They have a new DC and Matt Eberflus, who definitely has more of a passive scheme compared to that of Dan Quinn's aggressive turnover-heavy style. And missing Parsons cements all of that. So under 7.5 is the sharper side. There is an option to take under 8.5 at -240, but that price is too expensive now. You're late to that number, but definitely losing Parsons is a huge, huge deal.
Let's go to the other side of this. The Packers, they break the bank for Parsons and are hopeful it pays off with a Super Bowl title. How does their aggressive move affect their outlook for that?
I loved the Packers before the trade, and now I love them even more. So over 9.5 at -165, it's juiced but for good reasons. Parsons helps the Packers. He brings elite closing speed, mismatch creation, forces teams to change game plans. The value is lost on all of the futures. If you look at the Super Bowl, the NFL, the division, and make playoffs, all of those odds have been cut in half, except the season win total. It is still playable, but it's based on risk tolerance. Over 9.5 is -165. It gives you a safer floor, but there is value side with upside. If you take over 10.5 at +115, that is the better bet. Both of those options are playable because Parsons helps Green Bay. And we come back to that point because the Packers were 25th in front 7 rankings before the trade. Now Parsons instantly flips that to a top 10. He alone had 12 sacks last season. No Packers defender has had double digits in the last 3 seasons. So you take the over on the Packers because they are now true contenders with Parsons.
Yeah, the Packers definitely in that Super Bowl contender conversation. Let's go to college football.
Questions for Micah?
Welcome.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
Has it sunk in yet that you're with a different team?
Yeah, man. I think it sunk in a little bit for me yesterday when I was going a little crazy with the fan, but just being in here and taking in just the facilities and everything and the welcome, I think I'm pretty honed in and really know what I'm about and pretty aware of everything.
Got a number picked out yet?
Yeah, number one. Number one. I'm going with number one.
Could you just, over the past few days, what's this process been like for you? And when did you kind of realize I want to be a Packer?
Yeah, once I found out about, the agreement and came down to negotiations, at first it was like, obviously like anyone, I got kids, I got, a house, I got family that all moved down for me. And it's a change, right? And I had to sit down and talk to my family about this potential opportunity. And that's when, I got the chance to speak, with some other guys in faculty about what it could be like if I decided to come here. And, once I got that comfort zone and they said, and, I got to talk to Rashid a little bit, that's my guy from Penn State, came in together. This is it's like Penn State, like it's like home, like this is like a brotherhood, like it's safe. You focus on ball and we keep everything the right thing. It kind of gave me comfort and it kind of gave me a better decision. Like, okay, this is a place where I feel like I can take my next step and continue to have a great legacy here.
Micah, did you have any say in where you could go or where you might go?
Nah, I didn't have any say. It was just. I would say I'm pretty lucky because I understand the rich history of the Packers and the fact that they had interest in me and understand they had a pretty tough team already in the NFC and I was pretty much geared up, ready to play them, looking for revenge. But now I'm on the other side of adding to this rich history and being able to play with these guys and suit up and, I I'm very excited.
Where are you at physically, and what's a reasonable expectation for what you can do next Sunday?
Well, I'm going to talk, I think physically, I'm great. I think I can contribute a lot. I'm going to team up with the doctors, creating a plan. We already talked about how we can ramp things up and get me into a flow where they feel comfortable and I feel comfortable. But my plan is to be here. They didn't give up what they gave up for me to sit on the sidelines and make this big of a risk and change for me to do that. So I give my all.
Michael, what's your relationship like with Jordan Love, and was the podcast the only time he tried to recruit you here?
Oh man, I don't think it was ever like a serious conversation because even me, like many of us, I never thought I'd be traded. But that's the harsh reality. But me and Jordan, we're super close. I would say, obviously having the same agent. Me and Jordan been together in Dubai, and through the podcast, Super Bowl weekends. So we got a very good relationship. He's somebody I know that we're very competitive when we're around each other. So I know what type of quarterback he is. I'm very fond of Jordan too, just about the quarterback he is and what he can be and how he just keeps getting better.
You said you never expected to be traded. How does it feel now to be in this position?
Honestly, everything happens for a reason. It's a blessing in disguise. I may not have that answer for you yet, but I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna work hard every day to prove that the Packers organization made the right decision and trusted me, and I'm gonna carry that with me.
There's something that you and Jordan also have in common besides the agent. You guys have both had success in this league and are still kind of looking for that ultimate prize. You got to see this team up close a couple of years ago. How much are you just anticipating the opportunity to win here, and how much is that on your mind?
Oh man, winning is everything to me. I don't think you're going to find a more competitive person on the team or anywhere in the NFL when it comes to anything we do. We could go out shoot hoops. We could go out there and throw a baseball, see who could throw the hardest, whether it's miles per hour. We could go run 40-yard sprints. I'll wait till you get tired if you're faster than me. I don't think you're going to find someone that's more competitive. So when you talk about winning and the stage of what it takes, I haven't been there, and I don't know what it takes, but I got a funny feeling that, a lot of this history, this program does. They went further than us, and obviously they had a big win against us, and I trust Coach LaFleur, and, I really feel like, we can do it. And like I said, I really want to win real bad.
What have your conversations been like with Hafley, and what's the plan look like for the next week to get up to speed in the defense?
I'm going to meet with him Monday. Actually, we're going to meet a little bit when I come in on Sunday. Obviously, get a little bit ready. But, he says he got a lot planned for me. I don't know what the scheme look like. I just got my iPad today. So I'm going to look over it. And I'm super excited, man. I know about his creativity. I heard a lot. Obviously, I don't watch their defense a lot. But, I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to get better and, be a dominant player for him.
Micah,